So you're a coffee lover.
Like, I'm serious, Pauline. I love that you have those behind you. So I brought my grinder to my hotel world. I have my French press, and
Oh,
I'm 3 coffees in. So
that's awesome. I bet you need the coffee now when you're doing all of these interviews.
it's a little early. I mean, I do like to get up, not, to waste the day, but yeah, today's a little earlier. But I drink coffee all day long. So, I've made a lot of records and a lot of rock and roll. Back in the day, there was some alcohol involved, but it's been a long time since that. So now it's mostly the coffee obsession.
Yeah, yeah. I actually met you like 22 years ago or something here in Sweden in Eskilstuna when you played with Union. And then we had
Eskilstuna,
beer. Yeah.
I know, I remember it so well. Oh, that who was from Eskilstuna? My friend Mats Basfjord. Mats.
Yeah. Seriously.
World gets smaller.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. It was probably one of those nights when I realized this is what I want to do because we had so much fun. We had so much fun that night. It was awesome. But
I
then
can tell
it
you
was
this.
beer. Now it's coffee.
Yeah, it is coffee, and it's okay. There was a lot of special moments had drinking beer, but I just find that I didn't want to ever get on airplanes feeling a little hungover, and playing gigs feeling like crap it did get old. But coffee has never killed or it's not killed anyone that I know, and it certainly has helped everything I've done. So I'm all about it.
That's a good point. That's a great point,
Yeah.
actually.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been listening to the album a lot. So first of all, congratulations on a great album.
I'm glad you like it, and I'm just glad it is becoming available because it was made under COVID crazy times. So It's exciting to say, hey, we got through and made new music, and it's coming out, and we get to celebrate it. Although the touring in the rest of the world is yet to be seen, right? We're having a chance to get out in the States, but I would love to say, hey, we're coming to Stockholm or Göteborg or Eskilstuna.
Yeah.
I think I played Eskilstuna more than once. I might have played there with Marco Mendoza, and I could be wrong, but
you did.
I think I've been to your hometown a couple times.
Yep. I don't live there anymore, but back in the day, and I actually saw John Corabi play at the same venue 2 years ago. So I brought the band photo with him and me on it, and he signed it like the 20-year challenge. The 10-year challenge on Facebook, but 20 years instead. That was fun. That was really fun. But
that's awesome.
Now, during this pandemic, the whole COVID with restrictions and quarantines and everything, did it complicate the writing process on this album in any way?
Well, yeah and no. So the yeah is to get to everybody together at first because, as the world locked down, everybody felt the need to just stay home.
Yeah.
And I know probably Slash's daily life didn't change as much because he isn't the go out all the time person. He likes to, on the road, he's very much a hotel bound guitar writing, he doesn't need the, I'm wired differently. And I like the power of the friends and the travel and go around and when I'm on the road, I'm often not in my hotel room. I'm often, out and about. And I like to travel and see things. Slash writes all his great riffs by not being out and about. And, a lot of the new record comes from the sound checks that we do on the tour. And, the new record was probably already half put together from the last tour, the Living the Dream tour. So a lot of those songs get put together before pandemic.
Okay.
And during the pandemic, we all had discussions about, we all live in different cities. This band is, it's Slash in Los Angeles, Todd, Frank, and I are in Las Vegas, and Myles is up in northern Washington, in Spokane. So it doesn't make it easy for us all to get together. So we figured it out. That's the new adapting to the world we're in, is we're all in it together going, well, things are changing. So what do you do? So we did get together. It was talks about riffs and music, shared. And basically when the time was right, which was not until later in 2020. So, as March 2020 became an obvious that, things were locking down, we all just sort of stayed in touch. I actually went to Canada for a little while, and I was, I actually went up and looked after my parents for several months. And so I was a little bit out of the loop myself personally. But when I came back, we all got together in LA and did what we always do, which is we get in a room together, and it's not rocket science. It's old school. We just get together and get these songs riffed up, and Slash has great, parts already in his head, and we just sort of, work them into songs. So we did that on this new record with just a little bit of, the pandemic was testing us, but we still got it done. And then we went to Nashville, which was completely different. We actually left LA. We all went to Nashville. That was a whole undertaking because with COVID protocols in place, you got to consider, you don't just get on planes. Everything you do is affected by, well, how do we make this safe? How do we make this, work so that the pandemic doesn't, completely train wreck everything? And interestingly enough, part of our story about the new record is the fact that COVID did affect the record, in the sense of when we did start recording, we all got COVID. And, for the most part, it's just part of the story now, is like we did everything we could to avoid it, and it did catch us, and we got through it. But the record was recorded under some interesting, situations. But again, it's a testament to the band. The five of us have been together a long time, and we made it work. So it's great. We have this new record of a bunch of great rock songs, and through COVID, that's part of the story. Is we made a COVID record.
Well, I guess it makes sense. I mean, you've been apart and you've been isolated, and then when you get together and meet all these other people, it makes sense. So everybody gets it sometime, I think.
It certainly felt good because, when you're challenged with forced isolation, nobody wants to be forced to stay at home. And we all started to get the feeling of like, this is the normal, is everybody's working from home. Musicians are not on tour. People aren't going to concerts. I mean, what a world. Yeah. I can tell you one of the most interesting, and you'll have a memory of seeing, wherever you live and not seeing people in the downtown and the streets. So Las Vegas, where I've lived for 20 years, to know for a long time that I didn't go out. I didn't go down to the Strip, the Vegas Strip. And when I finally did, in April of 2020, there were no people. It was the city that just made up of life. And it was like a zombie apocalypse. And that was scary. So when we got together to make music, we were very thankful because everything around us was like this isolation factor,
Yeah. Yeah. When I listen to it, there's always this drive in your music. It's been on the last 4 albums. I feel like it always pushes forward, but this time I felt like you've scaled it down, not in a bad way, but down to almost the more punk rock feel. It's a bit rawer in some places. Is that something that you've thought about yourself?
I think certainly some of the sonics of what you're hearing, the way it was put down and recorded, in other words, put down on tape. Now, everything was done in a very, organic, and the 2-inch tape concept of making records, which is more of like, that's hard to do because a lot of people in the modern day say that it's hard to find tape and it's hard to find a studio that would actually utilize a live environment. But we went to Nashville to get punk, to get just raw rock and roll. And a lot of the things we talked about to make the record was, those Rolling Stones, those Aerosmith records, a lot of those records that we all loved and influenced. Why do we have to sort of change the model? And so what you're hearing is a real raw live record. And the performance on the records is all of us in the room with really fucking loud guitars and everybody bleeding into everyone else's mics and in the same room looking at each other, which we love to do. Our band, we don't really love the idea of everybody, because records can be made anyway now. We didn't even have to be in the same cities, and we could have made an album, and I could have sent Slash some drum tracks and he could have played on them. Nope. We went to Nashville and made this if you want to call it punk, the punk is the attitude, right? It's the effect of the against the establishment. So if the norm is making records in a digital environment, we just went and made this really exciting rock record that, Myles sang along with us, looking at us in the booth, and a lot of it is one takes. Most of the record is a complete performance where that's what you hear. And then, Slash often would play the solo at the same time instead of, which is, could be common. Hey, we all play the rhythm, the basic tracks, and then Slash would go in later and play his solos and that. No, our producer, Dave Cobb, was like, we're going to make this like it's live. And we committed to that. So hopefully the influence of that sounds different. It's a bit of a stepping out of the comfort zones. And we were up for it. We were like, this is a different, way of thinking and a different time. And let's try it. And that's how we represent ourselves best. We're a great live band. We just love to play together, and we don't play to tracks. We just play to ourselves. And that's what the record sounds like.
Yeah. It sounds really great. I really love that punk feel. But at the same time, when I listen to it, like in C'est la vie, I can hear a really playful tone in it as well. And maybe that's because you played together at the same time. It became this social, playful thing.
It certainly isn't hard to put songs together with our band. Some bands that I have been in previously where it's a forced effort to get influences and styles together. I think we just all really like each other, and we all respect each other's abilities as musicians. So when Slash or Myles or wherever the influence to start an idea comes from, which it has to come from a guitar part and a melody. And then, it's really Myles will carry the song. It's really where the impetus of the music comes from the band, the guys playing the instruments, but those lyrics and those melodies are all Myles. And it's a really great, the special, the way that Slash and Myles work together to get a riff that also has a great melody to go with it is pretty cool to play along to. I mean, my job is just to make the right drums feel perfect for the song and don't overplay, and let everybody do their part and shine. I don't like to overplay. I like to keep it where Slash has a platform because people are, it's a very recognizable. Slash is just, the second you hear him, it's him.
Yeah.
So I gotta make, I gotta support that and keep it, I kind of bring everybody together glue wise. But I always get a kick out of, because when we write the songs, I don't always know the melodies at first. We write these riffs, they might come from a sound check, and we jam on the songs. Could be 6 months later, or a year later that you go to record the song. But then sometimes I haven't heard all of Myles's great ideas, and then we finally get like this recent record. Myles sang everything right at the same time I was recording it, so I got to hear the song just the way you're hearing it. If you listen to C'est la vie, that's the way I heard it that day, was Myles, singing in my earphones. And great.
It has to be so cool to be surprised while you're playing.
Yeah. There was a danger in that, because some of the songs even were evolving that day that we recorded them, and we had a committed arrangement. And sometimes if you call it demoitis, you work on something for a long time, and then you go in the studio and you've kind of rehearsed it a bunch, and then what you demoed is what you're going to record, just a better version of that. Well, on the new record, we actually, and Dave Cobb, producer Dave, was very much adamant about saying, you know what, guys, let's not get too comfortable in the demoing and rehearsing it coming to the studio. So a lot of those songs, as we were getting ready to record them, we actually had some discussions on the spot and said, hey, maybe we could try this and change it. So example, River is Rising, which was the first song that came out. That song did not have there's a double time that happens twice in the song, during the solo and on the outro. It's like fast, again, punk feel. Well, that was basically created, and that idea came at the last moments before we went to record it. We just kind of said, hey, let's just flip the arrangement around a bit and put this in the middle and then do it at the end. And everyone was like, let's just go for it, see how it feels. And it just kind of worked into not overthinking. Yeah. And all those songs have a very spontaneous feel to them, but they all kind of worked. You know, we put a nice little record together. We didn't, you know, it's not a long record. It's a little more, you know, shorter, concise statement. And I think all the songs work well together, and they were all written with a very open, you know, honesty without overthinking it too much.
I can't wait to hear it live. I think it's going to be awesome live. I just love it.
And we'll play a lot of those songs live. And
Yeah.
some bands don't always get a chance to, you know, you have a song that maybe you want to release as a single, which we never think about those as purposely like, this is the song that's going to, you know, be played for the idea of like, this is the hit song. But, you know, over time, now that we've had, you know, several records previously that now have songs that are staples in our set, Anastasia, You're a Lie, World on Fire, those three for sure stick out as songs that probably when we first worked on them, we never thought, oh, this is going to be a song we're going to play every night in the show. They clearly have evolved into that. But on the new record, we can't wait to play most of, if not all, the new songs. And not one song will not get a chance. You know, it doesn't matter if it's the last song on the record. Even on Living the Dream, we played every song from the album at some point in the tour. And I love that Slash and Myles, we all agree, like, well, set's going to be different probably every night. And if you come to the show, you know, you're going to hear probably some new stuff, some old stuff, but some of the new stuff will be stuff that, you know, one night it might be, we've never played this song live before, and you're going to hear it tonight. So it's always spontaneous. It always keeps it, you know, fresh for this band.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw you guys at the Sweden Rock Festival. What's it been, like 6 years, I think? 5, 6 years ago?
2015, yeah.
Yeah. It was, the crowd was insane. The crowd was seriously insane. I was a bit in the back, but it was such a great show. Because, I mean, it was sunlight. It's almost always sunlight in Sweden that summer. But people were really living the show, if you get what I mean. It's like you reached out to the audience and you really made it. You really did it. And I think that's so cool.
Two-way street, because Sweden Rock is one of those great festivals. And I played Sweden Rock with Union in 2000. So that festival has been so successful all these years. So we look forward to playing it. So it's kind of a two-way street. The crowd is unbelievable. And then to get to play it, you know, and to get the feedback from all, but, you know, Sweden knows music so well, like, you know, not just, you know, all styles. I just love being over there because the genres tend to blend in well together. You know, it's not like the diversity of the bands on a Sweden Rock Festival day. Now, I remember Toto played on the same day as us. One of my favorite, you know, that's one of my guilty pleasures. And to the average person in America hearing, wait a minute, you played with Toto? It's like, yes, we did. And there was a bunch of other great bands of different styles of music that were on that day.
Yeah. Well,
great.
Sweden Rock is great in that way because you get to see both totally new bands and bands that you probably wouldn't have gotten the chance to see if it hadn't been for the festival, because they actually take in the bands who are not so fun to book perhaps anymore, but people still want to see them live.
Festivals in Europe are so important for bands. We look forward to it because, you know, you're going country to country and you're playing a different festival sometimes for an entire, you know, couple months. Of course, during the summer is when it's biggest. But and I'll say it's unfortunate that we're not able to do that yet because we miss those. That's so important for us musicians to go and enjoy, and we like playing with other bands.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, but it's a social club. Too. Festivals are it's a social club for the fans and for the bands.
Oh yeah, and COVID has really effed with all of this right now.
It has, but I'm actually surprised in a good way, because in the beginning of all of this, we were all scared because, you know, bands were postponing releases, they were postponing tours.
Yeah.
No one knew what was going to happen, but after about 5 or 6 months, there was an explosion. All of the people realized we have to release our albums. We need to do this. Our fans need us. And I've never had so many interesting and fun interviews because the bands want to reach out to the fans.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing. Do you
Our
think
opportunity just right now on Zoom is amazing. because that's evolved too, is the communication technology that's advanced in the last 2 years of people going, okay, Zoom is everything, on online and interviews and podcasts, and you know what, we're all getting good at it, and as we should, because this is part of how we are. It's the new normal. So it's probably been beneficial for music and people to learn how to record outside of like I said, we went and made a record together, but not every band gets to, and to figure out, well, I guess I better learn how to record at home and get my studio, up and running. It's good for musicians and people to adapt.
Yeah, I think so too. And it was a bit sad before the pandemic and everything, because we saw a breakdown of the music media. The big newspapers here in Europe, they all failed and went bankrupt. And almost every music blog, I mean, the biggest ones, they failed as well, because people weren't interested, because you could get everything so easily on the internet.
Yes.
But I feel like now, when we're all locked to the internet, when that's everything we have, people are more interested in reading and finding out.
You're right.
Perhaps it's a new era for the media as well.
Well, I grew up on rock magazines, so obviously classic rock is still going, and you have many, European magazines over there that still thrive. But for me, having magazines as my, that was my eyes and ears to all my favorite bands for many, many years, and most of those have gone away. Rolling Stone still exists, but I didn't read Rolling Stone. I read Circus Faces, Metal Hammer, and all those. And now I love classic rock magazine, but it's, they're Blabbermouth is, all things, a gossip and information. It's very up to date by the minute. That's a go-to. But you're right. We are living on our phones. I mean, it's, I'm looking at you on my phone, and I go, you know what? I can do most of everything musically on a cell phone now. Yeah. I can be in the music business and kind of make that work. And I love it. Might as well embrace it. I feel like we have to just sort of, as long as you're not just not communicating, because we've all done that too. What's interesting is going out for dinner with a band, say everyone in the Slash band, and we go out for dinner together, and if you do look around the table, a lot of people are looking down on their phones. That's just life. We're just all locked in our little worlds. But that's the only thing, is at least when we're making music together, the phones are away and we're playing our instruments.
That's a good thing. But
that's most important.
I know we saw a documentary just the other day about MTV, about the beginning of MTV. And I can really miss MTV in the way where you turn the TV on and you just let it be on. Because when you heard something great, you just ran into the room and you had to see the video.
You're so right. You're so right. I have a show on here called Axis. It's on direct, I think it's on satellite here. And so it's on in my hotel room when I'm in my room, and all it is music 24/7. So I insist. That's what I'm used to, and that's what I like. And I'll probably watch something, go, oh, look at that Yes concert. I haven't seen Yes in a while. And it could be any band that it's almost like it's feeding you things you wouldn't think you might like. And all of a sudden you get turned on. And when I was a kid, and I'm 51 years old. So when MTV first came out, I was an early teenager. So all those hard rock bands that I loved, hair metal, 80s, heavy, all of it was from seeing on, we had Much Music in Canada, which was the equivalent. And I'm sure you had those same shows over there. And that's how we got our that's what made me go to the store to buy a record.
Exactly. I can feel
I saw
like
it on TV.
Sadly, the MTV channels aren't really music channels anymore. It's like Teen Moms and all of these weird. We have VH1 still.
Good. Yeah. VH1 Classic here.
Yeah.
Still plays videos.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like YouTube has actually put some focus on music videos nowadays. It's like they create lists, so you actually can have a show going on.
Yeah.
I've seen your videos, and I feel like, do you feel like you reach a lot of new fans through your videos? You think?
Well, it's certainly, yeah, it opens the world up, because we all know anyone from any planet, any country can go and check out a song on, if it's on YouTube. So that is like, hey, we make videos in a different thought process, because MTV is not there to expose why YouTube is our new outlet for everything, for learning and to discover new bands. So yeah, I'm always sending people, hey, if you want to see something, all the new Slash, songs have some presence on YouTube, not just Spotify for playing, the audio, but yeah, the videos have to have a presence on YouTube. So
yeah, I
would say I spend, and maybe you could ask a million other musicians, but I think YouTube is it's like a drug, because I actually learn, I'm sure you read stuff on websites, but watching and learning and seeing other things. I don't spend a lot of time watching TV for just TV shows that are just, disposable. I don't need to be stimulated, but I certainly want to learn something, or watch another musician, or, just get inspired. So I think YouTube is a huge inspiration, for me, and I would think other people would agree.
Yeah, probably. So what have you discovered? Do you have any new bands that you've discovered lately?
I redid my studio over the pandemic, and I was just going through my Spotify playlists, and probably a couple new bands. If you want to hear a couple new bands I like, so we had a band called Dirty Honey that toured with us on the early part of Living the Dream tour. Dirty Honey, that's an American like a band from LA that are great, like Aerosmith.
Yeah.
And they're putting out new music all the time. I was just cranking their tunes the other day, and I had a band from Germany that I really like, and I'm good friends with them, and they were on the Kiss cruise a couple times now, and I've been lucky enough to be on, I think, about 5 of the recent Kiss cruises, and even recently, even post-pandemic, because 2020 everything was shut down, but I don't mean post-pandemic, but during pandemic, I just went out in October on the Kiss cruise, playing with Bruce Kulick and Todd Kearns from Slash's band as well, but a great band called the New Roses from Germany.
I know.
Do you like them?
Seen them. Yes, we've seen them twice.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I tell everybody about them, because it's sort of like, it reminds me of MTV era 80s bands with a fresh coat of paint. So I think the singer's amazing. Yeah. Good songs. And I'm a sucker for melodies and crunchy guitar and, hooks. Yeah. So I just, I redid my studio, and I just thought, I'm going to pull out a bunch of old vinyl. I have a whole vinyl setup in my house now since, the pandemic. I was like, I'm going to get this. I had all the records that I had growing up as a kid, but they were not filed and organized. They were probably in my storage. I said, nope, putting them all in place, because it makes me happy. Pull out records and listen. And then I was like, but I still have a whole bunch of Spotify playlists of new stuff that I like, and I'm always playing music. So I'm cranking music in the room here, in the mornings before I go to the studio. And sometimes it's interesting how, you play something, you don't think it probably influences into, when you're writing new songs with people as well, like the power of influence that way. But I love listening to them. But all the time. To your credit, you're in the country of great melodies, and it's from ABBA to Ghost. Come on, everything in between is based on melody, and it's the king of. That's where it comes from. And all my favorite music, I think, has an influence from Sweden. There's so many great, Max Martin, Andreas Carlson. Take credit over there. There's a lot of great, all that great music and melodies come from the mighty country of Sweden.
The mighty country of Sweden. I think that's the perfect finish for this interview. That was awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today, Brent. It was really
Thanks, Pauline.
Nice. It was.
I really hope our connection is again in person sometime soon. But in the meantime, we're getting good at Zoom, so it's working for now. So thanks for celebrating the new record. I really appreciate it. We're so looking forward to touring.
I'll bring it so you can sign it when we meet face to face.
I'll look forward to that.